Wake up, wake up. It is May the 19th, 8 minutes after 9 a.m. on the West Coast. That means it's 8 minutes after noon back east. Good morning, good afternoon. Let's go. We're talking Niners. Join us.
Yeah, everything that guy just said. That guy's Larry Krueger. This guy's Damon Bruce. It is great to have you back here. Like and subscribe to both the Krug Show and Damon Bruce. Plus, we're streaming on both channels. And when we do so, we become what is nothing short of the biggest sports talk entity coming out of the Bay Area. And we got some stuff to talk about on Friday, late in the afternoon. Larry, it happened. Our national nightmare? I don't know. Regional nightmare? For me, it wasn't a nightmare. It was just something that needed to get done. Normal business around football teams means when you have a good quarterback, you give him a contract that suggests that he is a good quarterback, and that's exactly what happened to Brock Purdy. This Monday morning, we have more details to go over, and that is what we're about to do. But everybody, like and subscribe. It gets the algorithm to push this video out even more into the YouTube universe, and we would appreciate that. Thank you so much to the support of all of you watching. And, of course, our sponsors, The Plus, brought to you by Ike Sandwiches and our good friends at The Dubliner. Now, Larry has some delicious barbecue to tell you about.
Well, yeah, of course, the Krug Show always brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. I had a guy or a young lady yesterday send me a cameo for her boyfriend. Said, "Oh, my boyfriend's a big fan of yours." And in the note that she wrote me, she's like, "He runs around the house yelling, 'Pig and a pickle.'" So that made me laugh.
What's funny is that he's not running around the house screaming, I'm thinking about Larry Krueger, go Niners, go Warriors, go Giants. No, pig and a pickle.
She's like, yeah, she said he yells around the house, "Pig and a pickle." Anyway, so happy birthday to him and his girlfriend, and I sent them a nice little cameo. Excuse me, but great to talk a little Niners on a Monday. As far as the Purdy contract goes, to me, it's kind of interesting because there are people that had decided well before they announced this contract that it was a great deal. You know what? There were people that have decided well beyond the details coming out that this was a bad decision. So there are people that are dug in on both camps. And to me, Damon, the only argument is you can't really argue because of the structure of this deal that the Niners got taken.
No.
The only argument you can really make against this deal is that, hey, you know what? I just don't think Brock Purdy is a legit franchise quarterback at any price. And in that case, no extension and no details really matter to you.
Right.
Because whether
it should have been a walk away. The New York Giants just entered an agreement that was as bad as the Daniel Jones agreement. That's what the San Francisco 49ers did. They just took a bad quarterback and gave him he ain't a bad quarterback money. I don't think that's what's happened here, and I know you don't either.
Well, I'm just saying it's like, it's not really about, it's like I think the reasonable expectation was that most of the debate would be like, hey, should they have paid him 56 instead of 53? Should they have paid him 240 instead of 265? Should they have paid him 181 million in guarantees or, I don't know, 120 million in guarantees? There were debate.
Takes care of. Bye, honey. Have a good trip. Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Jillian's taking off for a trip to New York. I'm not worried because one, she's from a city. She's got street smarts. Number two, she's not flying into LaGuardia. So, love you.
Flying into LaGuardia, not Newark.
No, you're not Newark. She's not flying into Newark is the bad one. She is flying into LaGuardia. Thank goodness. Newark is where you don't want to go. Okay.
I've flown into Newark before.
Have a good trip.
It's not ideal. But yeah, ultimately, I don't think it's really a debate whether, it's really more of a debate. Do you think that Brock Purdy is the guy at all? Because from what I can tell, the only people that are against this are the people that just, it's not that they don't like 53 versus 52 versus 55 or 181 versus 120 versus 160. They didn't want to extend him at all. They didn't want to give him any kind of a contract extension. So if you're in that camp, you're not going to be happy. But if you're not in that camp, if you're not in the camp of absolutely over my dead body, is Brock Purdy going to be extended? And then if that's the case anyway, you probably have come to the realization for quite a while that your wants do not align with that of the ownership or the general manager or the head coach.
What is actually happening here is not what you're trying to cover.
Right. Well, yeah, you're writing your own story. I mean, you're literally writing your own story that they would be better off going, drafting Shedeur Sanders and playing Aaron Rodgers and, all these different things. Instead, the Niners drafted Brock Purdy. They like Brock Purdy. They believe in Brock Purdy, and they wanted to extend Brock Purdy, and they told us as much. And they gave him a 4-year deal for $265 million, $53 million AAV, $181 million in total bonuses, total guarantees. And we found out today it also comes with a full-blown no trade clause in there. He's one of 8 players in the NFL, all quarterbacks, that have a no trade clause. Let me ask you this, Damon. Does the no trade clause move you in any way, good or bad? Do you see that and go good, or do you see that and go, I don't like that? How do you feel about the no trade clause?
I think it's kind of meaningless window dressing. Like, good for the agent. And then when we learned this morning that only 8 other players, or Brock is the 8th player now, along with Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, Trevor Lawrence, Goff, Hurts, and Kirk Cousins, who interestingly might get traded. He's the only one who would need to exercise the no trade clause because it feels like Penix is right on his shoulder. But to me, Larry, it's one of those, if he plays well, you're not going to be trading him. And if he's playing poorly, no one would be coming to trade for him at that price. So the no trade clause, nice little bit of window dressing to the deal, but does it really change the situation? I think it's kind of it prevents something from happening that doesn't really happen or wouldn't happen anyways. So I think it's again, if the player were bad, no one would trade for him at this price point. And if the player is good, the 49ers are not going to want to trade him. So it really doesn't prevent anything from happening that might have happened. What I think is the biggest
it prevents Brock. One side from pulling
it's
out.
Happy for Brock, right?
It just prevents like either Brock from saying, just out of the blue, hey, get me out of here. Or It also prevents the Niners from saying, you know what, things have changed. Let's get you out of here. But if they both agree that the player wants to be traded in the future, then you know what I'm saying? That he's going to be traded.
Trade clauses can be waived.
Right, exactly.
Kirk Cousins will waive his no trade clause for the Atlanta Falcons if they really come to a head there in that department. I'm sure of it. Because Kirk Cousins, by the way, is an A+ business Hall of Famer. And he's one of those guys who isn't a disruptor. He's not provocative. He is not an agent working to take the stability of your organization, crumple it like a piece of paper and throw it away. It's just not who he is, which is part of the reason why he got the contract, which is part of the reason why Brock Purdy just got this contract. Again, Larry, if we were just playing the silhouette game, I don't know how, but just the name Brock Purdy became like this touch point of real emotions. And, people either saying, yeah, that's my guy, or, oh, I can't stand that guy. And it's really weird because his play has done nothing to elicit that dramatic of a commitment in either direction. When you really think about it, Brock Purdy has been, even with harsh criticism, very good. He's been a very good player. A very good player when the circumstances were really great. When the circumstances were deteriorating around him, guess what? He was still good. He really was. But if we were just playing the silhouette game, and they do this on TV shows all the time, where I just take a silhouette of a quarterback and I don't tell you who it is, but then I start describing him and I start saying, okay, so he's a 25-year-old, stable, merry guy that the team that you root for drafted. So he's yours to begin with. He's a homegrown guy. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been to 2 NFL title games. NFC title games. He wins more than he loses. In one of his 3 seasons, he's led the league in passer rating and yards per attempt. He also ranked 3rd in the league in touchdown passes and 5th that season as well, when he set the franchise record for a single season passing yards. And oh, by the way, in what everyone says was a bad year, while some of his numbers dipped slightly, not dramatically, but slightly, he still led the league in expected points added per drop back. And oh, by the way, he's got the highest passer rating in the sport since the day he started playing it. Would you be interested in the player who fills that silhouette, no matter who it was?
Of course.
Yes, you would be. So why, when Brock Purdy's face appears in the silhouette, people go, ugh. Like, I don't get it. I really do not get it.
Well, I mean, he's oddly polarizing. And why is that? Well, I think there's multiple reasons. One, there were people that were all in on Trey Lance that really don't want to admit that they were wrong. That, there's a lot of people that unless it's like there's just it's totally obvious, they're not going to buy into it. Then there's he was drafted last crew where they just can't get over the fact that, his draft position. Then there's the people that can't get over the fact that he's kind of small. He doesn't have the biggest arm. He doesn't have the biggest stature. So there's people, I think it's a little combination.
If Brock Purdy had been the number 1 overall pick of the NFL draft, and he did everything that he did, there would be absolutely no argument at all what he was about to get paid. As a matter of fact, people would be looking at the deal that he just signed and said he didn't get enough. He should have come for even more. I mean, what's really odd is that a lot of people said, I'm going to hate this if he's one of the 3 highest paid quarterbacks in all of football. He's not, yet you still hate it. There are people who have just, again, they've made up their minds. They've been proven wrong in every conceivable, observable way that actually deals with football results, statistics, and business, but they're not going to admit, I might have gotten this one wrong. He might be a little bit better than I've given him credit for, which would be a fine pivot to make on an athletic career. But no, there are some people who just want to go down in flames. He's wrong. They're bad. This is bad for business. Somebody said, look, I really like Brock, but I think that the 49ers Super Bowl window has closed because of Brock. So if you walked away from Brock totally, and he wasn't your quarterback this year, is your window closer to being open or closed with a brand new guy in year one?
Come on. No, it's more, what's proof that it's just more about bitching than about the quarterback is that, okay, let's just go down your road for a minute. Not yours, but the people that are talking about it. Let's go down your road. Brock's not the guy. I'm with you. He's not the guy. Who's the guy? And then all of a sudden this conversation takes a major detour. All of a sudden it goes from they got to get this guy out of here to now the alternatives, and we have to start explaining why it's okay. Well, yeah, Rodgers is old and he can't move, and your line's not that great and can't protect him, but it would this and this and this and this and this. Shador would have been great because of this and that and this and that. He's cheaper and blah, blah, blah. But, it's like a lot. There's what you'll discover, Damon, is that every single option comes with the name and then the explanation with a big if. Well, and if, they go with Mac Jones, and then if they could coach him up, and they go with Aaron Rodgers, and if they could just, get him to sign and be happy and healthy, and maybe they could get one more year out of him, and then maybe they could go in the draft, and if this guy fell to them and that guy, it's a gigantic if all, they come with both bold chested and, barrel. I'm gonna Brock is not the guy. Okay, you got great conviction on that. Now when it's time for the next step of who is the guy, there's a whole lot less conviction. There's a whole lot less certainty. There's a whole lot less optimism. There's a whole lot less everything. So at the end of the day, I look at this as a win-win-win. It's a win for the fans because we're tired of talking about it, and it's time to get down the road and commit. And obviously he's their best option. So it's good for the fans. It's good for the Niners because it's a deal that doesn't even start for another year. So the Niners technically have Brock Purdy under contract for the next 6 seasons at an average, if you
45.
factor in this year, of 45. That in 2025, in May of 2025, to get your franchise quarterback on a 6-year deal for $45 million, that's pretty good. And then he's also accounting for less than 18% of the 49ers cap over the first 3 years, less than 14% of the cap in the first year. So when quarterback deals are supposed to be punitive and costly and painful and hurts your ability to build the rest of your roster out, is supposed to be up front, and yet the Niners have structured this in a way where it's not that painful up front. And then it's a win for Brock because he gets the job that he's sought. He gets job security that he's never had. And he gets roughly $200 million of security for his family going forward. So it's a win for Brock. It's a win for the Niners. It's a win for the fans. And now let's go. Now, will they win with Brock? Will it be successful? To me, Damon, that part of it is not in these terms or in this history. That part of it is about what does Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch do to build up this O-line, to build up these weapons, to build up the defense. If you give Brock Purdy a similar hand of cards to what Jalen Hurts just had last February with the Eagles, good line, really good defense, and some real good weapons, damn right he's going to win the Super Bowl. I really believe that. And there's nothing that anybody could say that would make me not believe that.
Well,
I think it's all about what. It's not about Brock. I think we know who he is. It's not about anything other than they don't have a surrounding cast surrounding him now that could win it all. They have a good cast, not a great cast. Can they build a great cast? Period.
We'll see. And whatever the team they start with won't be the team that they finish with because it's a young team that you hope to get better with more experiences as the year goes along. Look, Larry, I think that there are two quarterbacks who have basically broken the way people think about quarterback play. For the Niners specifically, one of them, and how it should work in the NFL for everybody else. The first is Patrick Mahomes. Everybody saw Patrick Mahomes, who basically walked out of a cornfield and was instantly the best quarterback in football. And everyone said, well, I want one of those. And until I have one of those, the guy that I have ain't good enough. So you had that distorted instant level of success and prolific production basically distort what everybody wanted in the first place, right? Then you get Jimmy Garoppolo. And I saw a clip shared on Twitter this morning where on the show, I almost cut it, but I know Fox flags an awful lot of their stuff if you play it on your YouTube show, and I didn't want us to get us flagged today. I would have played it for you. But it was Craig Carton, of all people, basically saying, hey, you know what? Brock Purdy is a pretty good quarterback, and this is a really kind of reasonable contract, all things considered. And why everybody's all upset about it, I don't know. And then it was Danny Parkins who basically said, well, it's because of Jimmy Garoppolo. Because Jimmy Garoppolo had success with the 49ers. That means like anybody could have come in and had success with the 49ers. That does two things. Number one, it totally shits on Jimmy Garoppolo, which became a very cool thing to do at the end. But let me remind everyone what Jimmy was. He was pretty good. Was he perfect? Was he good for 2 YOLO balls a game that made your heart skip a beat? You bet he would. But Jimmy was pretty good and was at his very, very best in the beginning there with the 49ers, and the league cut up to him. His work ethic was questioned. His injury and body started failing him. But because Garoppolo had success, everyone assumes like, well, then anybody could come in here and do it. Jimmy was pretty damn good. And for a minute, he was the highest paid quarterback in all of the league, for goodness sakes. I just feel like people have this selective memory. Oh, average quarterbacks can have great success in Kyle Shanahan's system. Therefore, why pay anything but an average quarterback to do it? Which is preposterous. It's absolutely ridiculous. That's the way people think about it. And again, here, I don't want to pick on Jawan Jones. He said, We all remember the games against the Browns and the Ravens and the Chiefs when he plays against good defenses. He sucks. You know, he's had a few bad games. He's had a few bad games against really good defenses. He had a few bad games in the weather. I wouldn't say Brock really ever sucks. He's had bad games. But you know who also has had bad games? Patrick Mahomes. Did you just watch the last Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes has lost 2 Super Bowls. Oh, my God. I mean, do you think that Brock Purdy could ever win enough Super Bowls to where he would be forgiven for losing 2? I would say that the answer is no there as well.
But the numbers just don't reflect that you know, that reality. I mean, the Niners are 27-15 in games that Brock has started. And in that time, he ranks 4th among all quarterbacks in QBR, 3rd in passing yards, 1st in yards per attempt, and 7th in touchdown passes.
Right. And so when you bring that stuff up to the I don't like Purdy crowd, when you bring that up to the I don't like Purdy crowd, then they'll start picking apart the statistics that they don't like. Well, I don't even know how they do QBR, and I don't believe in quarterback rating. And I think yards per pass attempt is an overrated statistic. Like, they just keep like, if Brock did it, you're not going to like it. I get it. I totally get it. Where if, you know, Lamar Jackson had done all this stuff, everyone would be like, wow, look at how good he is at throwing the ball now. But it's just because it's Brock, there's people who don't like it, just will not like it. But that's fine. That's fine. How you also exist in the universe of I'm a 49ers fan, but can't stand this guy. Again, it's going to be a rough few years from you because this guy's really not going anywhere beyond catastrophic injury because he's good and he continues to be good. And he's been good at the beginning of his career, which is a really hard thing for quarterbacks to do. Ask Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson. Ask a lot of guys who get thrown into a situation and, man, it's rough right from the get-go, and hopefully they turn into something. Brock was pretty damn good right from the get-go. As the year and the team got worse around him, he remained pretty good. Again, the numbers dipped, but they didn't fall off a cliff. He didn't become non-functional. And it feels like there's no grace given to the guy to develop or grow. And again, last pick in the draft puts up these sorts of stats and career that should be applauded. If this were the first pick in the draft, everyone would say, well, we expected these numbers. We hoped that he would play like this. But he's the last pick in the draft, and he produces numbers that people just try to crap on, and it's nuts.
Well, let's knock a few of these off the table. One, the Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, so people bring up Jimmy Garoppolo all the time. Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, let's talk about Jimmy Garoppolo for a second. The 49ers extended Jimmy Garoppolo. They made him something that they didn't make Brock Purdy this weekend, and that was the highest paid quarterback in the game. Jimmy Garoppolo signed an extension with the Niners, and it was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Took up a gigantic chunk of the Niners cap space. And yet, the thing that people are arguing today who are super anti-Brock Purdy is that the Niners' Super Bowl window is closed. And yet they signed Jimmy Garoppolo, a significantly worse quarterback, and made him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL, took up a much larger chunk of the Niner cap than Brock's contract is taking up. And yet the Niners' Super Bowl window never closed. So if it never closed with paying a crappy quarterback like Jimmy the most money, why would it close when you pay a better quarterback less money? Nobody ever seems like they can ever answer that one. I've heard enough of the Brock Purdy's contract automatically closes the Niners Super Bowl window. Half of the league's quarterbacks are making $40 million plus. What are we talking about? That's just so preposterous. And then as far as Purdy himself, first year, he's a rookie, right? Heck, Cam Inman thought they were going with Nate Sudfeld. Wagered with me at the cut down that they were going to cut Brock Purdy and go with Nate Sudfeld. So, I mean, that's where people thought Brock Purdy, that's what Niner media who attended training camp thought of Brock Purdy his rookie year. Not much, all right? So what did he do? He got called off the bench against Miami, and they run the table. 6-0, 7-0, win the playoff game, go to Philly, get his elbow ripped out. They lose in the championship game. That's his first year. Niners go 13-4. Second year, Niners go 12-5. He's the highest rated quarterback in the game. He absolutely was the number one rated quarterback in football. And the Niners go 12-5. They beat the Lions in the NFC Championship game. Brock Purdy outplayed Jared Goff, outplayed Jordan Love, and
walked
go
off
to the Super Bowl
with a lead.
Walked off of the Super Bowl with a lead twice. Third year, Niners are a tire fire. Coming off a Super Bowl, no rest, tragedy, injury, and yet Brock Purdy still third in yards per attempt, fourth in success rate, fifth in EPA per attempt, despite having the second most injured offense by snaps missed on the year, and only 57 total snaps together of CMC, Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle on the field. And still, Brock Purdy still played decent football. They didn't win games. But the turnovers, showed up in the second half. Well, why is that? Because this is what happens when tons of pressure comes on the quarterback in you're losing games in the fourth quarter. You're either going to be Derek Carr and throw it into the ground and be non-competitive, or you're going to take chances down the field and throw picks.
Right. And look,
that's what he did.
Wide receivers aren't getting much separation. That means your corner's on top of your wide receiver, which means the chances of this ball getting picked off
good
at the point of reception increase.
Totally. So. Not to mention that, okay, so that's what Brock actually did. But then there's also the backstory. And the backstory is worth noting here, isn't it? Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch would be fired right now if it weren't for Brock Purdy. They were all in on this guy, Trey Lance. They invested 3 years of draft capital in the first round to get Trey Lance because they told us that their football expertise told them that Trey Lance was the guy.
This is our Patrick Mahomes. We found the unicorn.
Right.
We're going to chase him and lasso him, and he's ours now.
We know what we're talking about, and we think Trey Lance is damn good. That was the message. And then they took the Mr. Irrelevant with the last pick in the 7th round a year later. And now look back at it. If you don't draft Brock Purdy, you had Trey Lance. Trey Lance failed. You're probably out of there. Lynch is probably gone. Shanahan's probably on the hot seat, or if not gone. And instead, those guys are there with contract extensions, not gone, not on the hot seat. And it's all because of Brock Purdy. So you could make an argument that Brock Purdy is dramatically underpaid. And we'll see where it goes. We'll see if they can surround him with enough. But they got the deal done, and I think it's probably a pretty favorable deal.
All you can hope for in a league that is literally built to take your chances to be successful apart week by week through injury, through fatigue, through just the gauntlet that is the NFL. All you can hope for at the beginning of every season is if things go right, you will be prepared to compete with the best teams in football. I think the 49ers, through their coaching, through their front office, through their personnel, are prepared to compete when everything goes right. When things start going wrong, every team in the league gets in trouble. There is no quarterback who is better than, well, we have had devastating injuries and therefore we still went to the Super Bowl because I'm the man. That just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. Everybody wants to just pin 49ers success or failure on two guys as if they were the only two moving parts in the equation. It's the head coach, who's constantly overrated and no good because he hasn't won the Super Bowl. And the, even though all other results are wildly positive. And then it's the, I don't like the quarterback because they didn't, I'm just conditioned to never think a 7th rounder is going to be the solution for anything. So there you go. There you go.
I mean, the bottom line, too, I think this also has to be mentioned here, is that the 49ers had, as I said, 57 total snaps of their offensive weapons on the field together. They were the most injured team in the NFL last year. Ayuk and Debo only played a handful of games. CMC played less. Trent Williams missed more games last year than he's missed in all of his other years with the Niners combined. And yet, the 49ers still finished 9th in offensive DVOA. So, and if you look at this draft, the Niners started off with 5 defensive players. Look at this offseason. They've replaced their defensive coordinator and went 5 defensive players to start the draft. On special teams, they replaced their special teams coordinator and have gone heavy influence or impact on special teams throughout this offseason, both in free agency and the draft. What have the Niners done for their offense?
Well,
What have they done for their offense? They got rid of Aaron Banks at left guard. They've re-signed Juice. They lost Ayuk. They brought in Demarcus Robinson. They brought in Luke Farrell. They haven't done Jordan Watkins, Corey Kiner and Jordan James. They brought in a couple of pieces, but nothing major. They didn't spend any major money on any free agents on offense. They didn't spend any major draft capital on any position on offense. They didn't make any major trade for any significant player on offense. They just basically rebuilt their defense and special teams, changed out the coordinator on both.
You know what they're counting on offensively? More than anything else, Larry, more than anything else, they're counting on continuity. Something that teams with a lot of moving parts, by definition, cannot have. And if you say, well, you got continuity with a lot of moving parts, but they aren't the parts that I want, therefore, what good is the continuity? I think Kyle Shanahan and company would suggest in this offense, the way that he goes about calling plays, it does mean a lot. And hopefully that is the deciding factor, the continuity that this offense enjoys. I mean, how many times have we heard Steve Young say, well, the reason why I was really good when I came in is because I got to practice with these guys for 3 years before I started playing with them. Like I knew my football team. I knew the way the offensive line operated. I knew where Jerry Rice was going to be before he even got there, because Jerry Rice is always there because he's Jerry Rice. And no one helps continuity come together quite like that guy. And it's hard to find in sports. And that's the one thing this 49ers offense will have going for them. One of the few things. Again, the goal isn't going to be pinball machine offense. The goal is going to be 24 points a week. That's the goal. Get 24 points a week. Salah, under 24 points a week. That's how the 49ers reach the postseason this year. They are not going to be this sexy offense. I think they're going to be better than serviceable, with hopeful improvement in the red zone, making up for a lack of, what yardage that they have. Look, starting field position is going to be important. That's why getting better on special teams is awfully important for the 49ers. I think the 49ers are 2 wins better than last year based on special teams tackling alone, I would hope. Can't get much worse. So did they do enough offensively? I think we both agree. No, they didn't really.
I mean, what's the best thing they did for their offense?
Have everybody to train.
I would say the best thing they did for their offense was sign Mac Jones and create competition for Brock Purdy. I would say that's probably the best thing they did for their offense. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Corey Kiner will be a stud. Maybe Jordan James will be a stud. Maybe Jordan Watkins will be a monster. Maybe Demarcus Robinson will be a monster. But what they actually did was they signed veteran free agents Mac Jones, Luke Farrell, Andre Dillard, Demarcus Robinson, Nicholas Petit-Frere, Ross Dwelly, and Isaiah Hodgins.
It's hardly
those are the veterans
of household names or fantasy players,
They drafted Connor Colby, Junior Bergen, Jordan Watkins, Curtis Rourke, Jordan James. So, and they added Drew Moss and Isaiah Nayer after the draft, as well as Corey Kiner. So, I mean, that's what they've added. But, there's not, all of the starters from last year, except for Ben Barch, who's going to step in for Aaron Banks, most likely at left guard. The rest of the other starters are all the same, except for Ayuk, who, will probably be replaced by Jennings and Pearsall. will replace Debo and Ayuk to start off the year. But those guys were also on the team last year, so now who's going to replace those guys? So, I mean, they were bad on defense. They were bad on special teams. They were still the 9th best offense last year, despite CMC being out, Ayuk being out, Debo being out, and the offensive line being 24th in run block win rate and 14th in pass block win rate. So, I mean, it's like, they're kind of just hoping that, if they can get their guys on the field, get a little healthier, that maybe they can be good offensively, and that they're looking for their big improvement to come on the defensive side of the ball with Robert Saleh and on special teams with Brant Boyer. We'll see if it happens.
Did you see the story that Albert Breer put out about some more details of how the Purdy contract came about? By the way, like and subscribe, good folks. Hit that thumbs up button right now, if you would, please, if you haven't already. Larry and I are working hard for you. All you got to do is hit a thumbs up button. That's all we're asking you to do. The Niners made the first move, wrote Albert Breer, asking Purdy's side to make a trip to Santa Clara for their initial negotiating session. And then the second meeting happened at St. Elmo's over the Combine in Indy. If we talked about the 2 rooms that most NFL business is done in, it's whatever room they sign contracts in corporate headquarters in New York City, and St. Elmo's Steakhouse in freaking Indianapolis. Deals get done there, Larry. In the first meeting, the 49ers got their point across that they were not about to break records with this Purdy contract. And I guess in the second meeting, basically, Purdy's side established this wasn't, there had to be some serious cash flow here and guarantees that make our guy comfortable, even if you don't make him the highest paid quarterback in all football. That ain't the target we're shooting at, but we're shooting at a deal that locks him up, not only in terms of financial security, but he's going to be your guy. You're not going to be looking to move on after 2 years type of a thing. And the results, I guess, after they had those meetings where there's a lot of work to do. And as I kept on telling you, Larry, there is a contract out there that they're just going to mirror here. Why is this taking so long? It is the contract that they mirrored was Jared Goff's more than any other contract. The contract is $165 million in new money over the first 3 years, which edged out a metric in Jared Goff's deal last year. That means Purdy's going to get $170 million over the first 4 years of the deal. Goff's deal was an important comparison for both sides, as they saw it one that didn't break records, but did well by the player in many other different ways. Purdy gets $215 million in new money over the first 4 years of the deal. And what is also really good about this deal, again, for the 49ers, is that you see a lot of quarterback contracts and they start making, reasonable, big money, reasonable money. But then like the last few years of the deal, it's like a $78 million cap hit, an $82 million cap hit, or whatever it is. And you're like, well, you're begging to restructure before you get to those. Purdy's deal does not do that. Purdy's deal stays around that $50 million a year mark through all the years, an annual average value. So it doesn't become this prohibitive to do business going forward, gobbling up too much of the cap percentage, as you were talking about earlier. At no point does the contract do that. Again, you cannot be mad at this contract from the Niners handing it out, because they just gave a very reasonable contract to a guy who's played unreasonably successful football for them. It's a win. The player gets protected. The team gets protected. They still will not lose their financial flexibility to add free agents, do deals, extend Fred Warner. Whatever it needs to be done can still be done around this Purdy number. All the way through. This Albert Breer thing's really interesting. There's so many numbers in it. I'm not going to throw too many numbers at the audience, but go read the Albert Breer anatomy of how this deal came together. Very interesting.
What's amazing to me is that the guy is so polarizing, that it's not being more celebrated. That it's like, there's still people that are like, I don't like it. I don't know why this guy's so polarizing. I don't know if it's the Lance thing or if it's the fact that he's not, on that first glance, an overly impressive physical stature. I don't know if that's it, or if people just don't believe, or if they're, I get the sense that there's just a lot of people with really limited scope, because anytime people, it seems like the common denominator of Brock's not the guy is, and it's like, it always comes back to, well, I thought Jimmy was the guy. I was told Jimmy was the guy, and he wasn't. I was told Kaepernick was the guy, and he wasn't. So, I mean, if your scope is just Niners, and Niner history, yeah, the last two 49er franchise quarterbacks that you were told, hey, this is our guy, you were told shortly thereafter, this is not our guy. And those guys did not get better as time went on. So if that's your total focus and total scope, then how could you not compare Brock Purdy to those guys? But I would argue that if that's your scope's too narrow, and you're not seeing this for what it is because you've got Jimmy derangement syndrome, you've got Kaepernick derangement syndrome, and you only see Jimmy. All roads lead back to Jimmy because that's all you know.
You know what you are? Not you, Larry, but you know what people are who are turned off by these numbers? You're the same, doesn't get the direction the entire league is marching in as Mark Davis was when he moved on from Khalil Mack. Remember, Mark Davis said, well, you can't pay $20 million on both sides of the ball. You can't have a $20 million a year quarterback and a $20 million a year defender as well. Again, this was when the number 20 million was a big number. And that was just a few years ago, right? I mean, this is not a ancient history. This is just a few years ago. And the reason why they had to trade Khalil Mack is because it would become untenable to pay that. That's what people think of $50 million a year for a quarterback. That alone means you cannot build the rest of your roster. Dude, they just broke off $20 million a year for George Kittle at the end of Kittle's career. Fred Warner, when he gets his new extension, will be making anywhere from 24 to 26 million a year, probably in that neighborhood, because he's going to be the highest paid linebacker in football with his new extension. The numbers that you were told to balk at have changed dramatically in just the last 3 years. So it sounded like an awful lot of money 3 years ago. Today is a fucking bargain. And that's how this is going to be for Brock Purdy. The sticker shock you're experiencing today is going to be whistling through the woods 2-3 years from now. It won't take long. It won't take long at all.
It's interesting because he's getting a large amount of money in the first 3 years, and yet the deal accounts for less than 18% of the Niners' cap over the first 3 years. So that right there is a nice little accomplishment, that you could get Brock his money in the first 3 years and have him taken care of, but also have it be, 14% of the cap at signing and only 18% of the cap in the first 3 years. So it's very cap friendly for the 49ers in the first 3 years when Brock's going to be getting a big chunk of that money. So, personally, I think this is a deal that is a win-win. It does get your quarterback signed. It does give you that stability, and it also gives him some assurances. And you've got a guy going forward who, in his career as a starter, the guy leads the NFL in yards per pass attempt. He's second in the NFL in passing touchdown percentage. He's first in the NFL today in his career in passer rating. And it's not like this guy can't get it done in the playoffs. His first playoff game, he threw for 332 yards, 4 touchdowns against Seattle. It's not like this guy can't beat your biggest rival, the Seahawks. He's 5-1 against them. It's not like this guy can't win in the playoffs. He's already got 4 playoff wins. He's only 25. That's tied for third most in the sport. The offensive efficiency metrics, the quarterback efficiency metrics, really prove that this guy is top tier. Even if you want to go look at, some people say, oh, well, it's more than passing yards and touchdown passes and this and then wins. And it's more about the internal metrics. Okay. EPA per play, he's number one. Completion percentage over expectation, he's number one. That's why, that's part of the reason.
Look at it this way. If at any
why
point
this guy got the contract.
If at any point in time you decide you are in the I don't like Brock Purdy camp, and then you want to pivot to statistics to buttress your argument, good luck with that. Again, the results, statistical results, on field results, boiling it down to something as just simple as did you win or lose? Like either way, all the numbers point towards you got the right guy. No, but you want to insist it's the wrong guy. So what are you going to do to prove it's the wrong guy? Well, I think he's got a weak arm. Let's go to the numbers. Ooh, doesn't help my argument. I don't think he can win big games. Ooh, actually, what happened in the past doesn't help my argument there.
The argument against him is this, okay? Warren Sharp had his list the other day, Damon, the most clutch quarterbacks when you got to have it. Trailing in the last 5 minutes since 2020. Who are the best quarterbacks in the NFL? According to Warren Sharp, it's Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Those are the top 5 guys. Purdy's not on the list. He didn't have, because you had to have minimum of 85 dropbacks to make the list. He didn't have that. So he only had 58 attempts. But if we relax the qualifications, Purdy still, his EPA per attempt ranks 44th out of 62 in this situation. His issue is turnovers, 0 touchdowns, 4 picks, and 5 sacks being taken. A lot of catastrophically bad plays. Warren Sharp says when trailing in the final 7 minutes of any game, regular season or playoffs, Brock Purdy has 0 touchdowns, 6 picks, 5 sacks taken, 1 fumble lost, 9% interception rate, third worst, 15% sack rate plus interception rate, second worst, and his EPA per dropback ranks 55th out of 71. I would argue, and it's funny, I threw this stat to Todd Husak the other night on Niners Nightly, and he said that he felt like that was more of a Shanahan stat than a Purdy stat. And I thought that was interesting. And you got to remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about, in the kicker here is when trailing in the final 7 minutes of a game. Well, when you're trailing in the final 7 minutes of the game, that means you're on your final drive, you're behind. The run game is not available to you. The play action pass is not available to you. So is Shanahan's is this more about Shanahan's offense? Because Shanahan doesn't have a lot of fourth quarter comebacks, whether it's Purdy at quarterback or anybody else at quarterback.
It's so he's got almost none, right? Like there's a terrible record. Kyle Shanahan's terrible record, down a touchdown, 10 minutes left to go in the game. What is he, like 0 for 30, whatever it is? Like it ain't good, Larry.
More.
But the single best record in football under the same scenario is like 4-30-ish. Like the guy who's the most successful at it still has a god-awful failure rate in that scenario.
Right. So it's like when you look at somebody's record when they're trailing in the 9th inning or something, it's like nobody has a good record when they're trailing in the 9th inning. They may have, somebody may have an awful record. Somebody may have a slightly less awful record, but nobody's got like, hey, we're 19-4 when we trail in the 9th inning. No, you're not. So yeah, it's like kind of one of those stats.
Here you go too, just Kenny Powers. How many rings does Brock have, Damon? The same amount as the vast majority of all quarterbacks in football. How many guys, active quarterbacks, have rings right now in this league, Larry? Didn't we go over this the other day?
Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and somebody who just won it in the last year or two, right? Jalen Hurts.
There you go. That's it. There is your active. So there's 5 living human active beings in this league right now who have actually won Super Bowls. And Brock Purdy has the same amount of rings as Josh Allen and Lamar, even though they've been winning MVPs, getting paid more of them, getting paid more than Brock, and been playing a lot longer than he has, with more bites at the apple, you're going to say because Brock has no rings 4 years into his career, 2 title games and an appearance in the big game, but you're just labeling him as no rings? There's no.
I mean, the moment that made Joe Montana when he found Dwight Clark in the corner of the end zone. If the Niners don't stop Drew Pearson on the next drive, that's not even a memory anymore.
Right.
That's like, oh, that's a footnote. Joe didn't win the. So does that make Joe's rolling right, finding Dwight in the corner of the end zone less special because Eric Wright grabbed at the shoulder pads of Drew Pearson, and instead of pulling him to the ground, he whiffed, and Drew Pearson ran for a 85-yard touchdown? Does that make Montana to Clark less impressive? Is Montana now not clutch because Drew Pearson went for a touchdown late in that game? Just we can play the game all day, every day. The reality is Brock Purdy walked off the field in Vegas a leader in both the fourth quarter and the overtime, only to see his defense gag. So, it is what it is. Right. That's what it is, though.
Nick Bosa tackles Patrick Mahomes on 4th down. What are we talking about?
I'm just saying it's a team game, and if you're going to be that harsh on one guy for a team loss, right? Why not blame the other people for the team loss?
This, Larry?
Who also didn't have any say in it.
If you're really worried about the 49ers spreadsheet and financials more than anything else, and there is a percentage of our audience that is, thank God the 49ers didn't win that Super Bowl in Las Vegas, or Brock Purdy would be making $60 million a year. So there you go. There's your win.
I mean, it had nothing to do with Brock Purdy that the defense didn't hold. I mean, is CMC not the same caliber of running back because the Niners defense didn't hold the Chiefs in the Super Bowl? No, right. It's not related to him.
Opening drive sucks that he fucking fumbled. There's no doubt.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, is CMC garbage because he fumbled in the Super Bowl? No, nobody's saying that. It's amazing the standards we hold the quarterbacks to that we don't hold the other guys to. Let's hit some supers.
Well, hold on, Larry, real quick. We got one last bit of business. First of all, Fred Warner.
Okay.
Do you think that Fred Warner gets a deal done here? It really does feel like 49ers training camp is going to open with 100% across the board participation. I mean, everybody should be there. And that's a really good thing. It's going to be great for Ricky Pearsall. It's going to be great for Jawan Jennings. It's going to be great for all these rookies defensively. I think Fred Warner, the last bit of big business to be done before the X's and O's become a really main topic. What is it? His current cap numbers are at $29 million and $26 million. So they're going to want to rework them, get those numbers down by adding on more. We're talking like a 3-year, 4-year, 140-ish. I mean, Fred Warner is going to be making about 22 to 23 million a year, I would imagine, averaging out over this next deal. Roquan Smith making 20 million is the highest paid linebacker in all of football right now. So you got to figure Fred's coming in just a little over that.
All these deals where you're paying players big money long term. You could make an argument that all of them are bad. You can make it because it's he's an older player who's already played great football. But part of the reason that you're paying him is what he's already done. He's been one of the most productive linebackers in the league. I mean, last year he played through an ankle fracture. And yet he still was an all-pro player, still was a Pro Bowl player. I mean, he was really good.
Niners were watching you.
Yeah, I mean, the Niners, of course, lost Dre Greenlaw and Lafonga and Hargrave and Collins and Floyd, and they need all the veteran leadership they can get on their defense. But I don't know that I love this deal. I mean, once again, you're rewarding players as they get older in the NFL, and as they get older, they usually get more injured. So I don't know if that I love the Kittle extension. I don't know that I love the Warner extension, but I think he earned it. There's no question. I mean, Fred Warner's 28, but I think he's probably played his best football. He's in the 4th year of a 5-year, $95 million deal that he signed in 2021. He's a great player. There's no question. I just kind of wonder if they've already gotten the best football out of him. But, you got to take care of your best guys.
You know what? They haven't replaced him on the roster. They didn't do it in free agency. I don't think they've done it in the draft. Dre Greenlaw is gone. That means this guy's staying, and it has to happen. And I think he is one of the best chess pieces on the board and has still several seasons of, very productive play ready to go. Guys are staying, if they stay healthy, their careers are going a little bit longer right now. And Fred Warner's taking great care of himself. He knows this defense. Robert Saleh's going to hopefully, bring out the very, very best in him once again. So that's probably the next bit of business to happen. League-wise, a little bit of business might happen this week. NFL owners are going to be meeting, Larry. They're going to be voting on the tush push. I think they tabled that at their official owners meeting. They're going to come around and look at that. We do not want to reopen that debate. You and I have done that too many times. The other thing that they're going to talk about is possible reseeding for the postseason. We haven't talked about this. This has just been put on the table over the last 72 hours of news cycles that reseeding is something that they're going to talk about. Now, personally, let me just say, I really don't care either way. I'll be watching all playoff games regardless of seeding. So it's not going to turn me off to the point where now I'm not watching or anything like that. But I really do believe that division titles still need to matter. And someone's like, well, divisions don't matter anymore because geography doesn't matter anymore. And we got Jets and yeah, but there's still the structure of football, which means you got to win your neighborhood before you win your league, before you win your county, before you win the big thing, and I think football needs to work like that. I believe division champions should be rewarded. A reseeding suggests just because you're a division champion doesn't mean you get that automatic home game. What do you think of this? I've seen smart arguments in both directions. Warren Sharp, again, a guy that we really like, he predicts the playoff seeding will pass, saying the two key reasons are simple and hinge around the NFL wanting to increase ratings and playoff seeding. After round one, it would, one, make week 18 more meaningful, and two, it's more likely top two seeds then reach the conference championship. And we're looking at an NBA right now. We're looking at an NHL right now. We're looking at baseball quite often, seeing wild card. The regular season is not reflective of who's the best team once the postseason starts. Do you need that?
I personally like the surprises that you see in the postseason. I don't want to see it more aligned to try to force the best teams in the regular season into the Super Bowl because, we think that they're better. I mean, they may be better. They may be worse. Football's an injury sport. So just because you have the better regular season record doesn't mean you're the better team, especially not with great individual players getting, handsomely rewarded. If you take away a great individual player from a top team and it's the right individual player, that team could have a lesser record. So I don't want to see them then get all kinds of added enticements. Plus, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, when you're looking at the kind of growth and ratings win that you have right now, to make any changes at all would be really, really dicey. I mean, when you really think about how popular that this entity is right now, I mean, should you change the NCAA tournament? No, you shouldn't. And you shouldn't change the NFL playoffs, I don't think. I don't think you need to do anything. I personally don't think that there's anything about the NFL playoffs right now that screams out it must be changed. I don't see it.
Someone's like, oh, well, the NFL should adopt what the NBA has done with its draft and have a lottery. Why? The NFL, as it is a billion times more popular than basketball. The NFL doesn't need any notes. The NFL.
Why did the NBA do that? The NBA did that because people were tanking for Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon.
Right.
Nobody's tanking for the number one pick. No, there is no such thing as tanking in football. Okay, there's no tanking. Why? Because the players' average careers are 3 years, and the players are not aligned contractually with the ownership on a level that baseball players and basketball players are. There could be a basketball point guard who has a 13-year contract for $22 million or $50 million. Steph Curry, you could argue, is a part of the Warrior brass and brain trust because of the money that he's making. He's got a seat at the table. Well, you don't have that in football, and nobody is going to tank or look bad or lose games intentionally in the NFL for a better shot at Andrew Luck or a better shot at somebody who could replace their starting quarterback's job. So I don't see that happening.
The New York Giants just kind of proved, well, you probably should, right? And the New York Giants might have had the quarterback that they wanted, but they had Tommy Cutlets come and win 2 out of 3 at the end of a junked up year. And
well, I mean, Damon, I don't like the arguments. I'll say this. Do you like the arguments that people make? I mean, it's total bogus argument. It's like, it matters a whole lot more that we establish a culture of winning here than it is that we lose for this quarterback. No. Most likely you'd rather have the Cam Ward than your culture. Does the New York Giants culture somehow, is it awesome now that they lost out on Cam Ward? No, they just lost out on Cam Ward. So all this talk is such bullshit. All this talk about, these teams, and it's usually done by these Pollyannish media people who, for whatever reason, feel like they're aligning with the franchise by saying this, or they're aligning with the players. It's kind of a weird take, but you'll see this. They're not tanking in this sport. Now that part of it's right. Like when the person kind of indignantly says they're not tanking, but then their reasoning is always wrong. I mean, the idea that they're not tanking, it's like they're not tanking because continuity. These guys care so much about how a code and this. Stop.
I think that every team in sports should be looking to serve 2 masters, and the master you're serving can change quickly right in the middle of the same damn year. You want to serve the master of what is best for us right now. And then when that master becomes unserviceable, you need to service the master of what is best for us in the future. So I think that you have to at some point be like, hey, we came into this year with the very best intentions. It did not go our way. And right now it would be better off that we start planning things towards next year. Again, play Tanner Mordecai end of the year in Arizona just to see what you got. Why?
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They don't play their bench. There's too many incentives tied to games played and all these things. So they just put out their guys. They don't, I mean, I wanted to see Kyle Shanahan show me Izzy Abanaconda in the final month of the year. Do we get any snaps from Izzy? None at all. So, but whatever. I mean, that's, they've got, the joke's on them to some degree. If you don't develop your young roster, that's on you, right? Eventually you're going to have to play some of these guys. Right. You would think you'd have a vested interest in developing them.
Isn't that what the Warriors just ran head into? Right? Not developing the younger guys quickly enough over time to be ready for a moment when you needed them. And look, let me just say this. I want to end this with this about reseeding. Whatever comes out of this NFL owners, it was a fan on Twitter who wrote this. A team loses in overtime, change the rules. A team with a good record can't get a home playoff game, change the rules. A team doesn't like a play one team runs because they got sour grapes after losing to them twice, change the rules. Why do we keep accommodating losers? And I just thought that was a legit question. This comes from an owner who, watched teams who won a division with a worse record get a home game, and they bitched about it. We have a better record. Why are we in their stadium? Because you didn't win your division. That's why. There are a list of tasks. There's checklists of how you get the best playoff path. And you didn't check one of the most important boxes, which is win your division. By the way, if winning divisions doesn't matter anymore, then what's the difference between a first place and a last place schedule? How are we going to determine that? So I just, look, if they do reseed, okay, we're watching, we'll miss none of it. But I wouldn't do it. I really wouldn't do it. But again, Warren Sharp, Points out 2 key reasons. It could make week 18 more meaningful, which might be profitable. I don't think it's important that the top 2 seeds reach the conference finals. I think we are watching no matter who is in that game. Would we watch that game with more eyeballs if it were the Dallas Cowboys? Sure. But that's a brand unto itself.
Well, do we want to have more surprises or fewer surprises in the playoffs? Are surprises in the playoffs a good thing? I would say they probably are. I would say it means that it's must-see TV. Yeah. If all the best teams just always won, then it's pretty humdrum, and it's like, okay, the better team won, the better team won, the better team won. I mean, we can be entertained by, we can be brought along with the point spread, but if there are no upsets, it's probably not going to be viewed as favorably.
Look at it this way. God forbid, the team you root for is clear of its own division by 2 games, but a third-place team in another division is 1 game better from you, and instead of going into week 18, playing backups and resting and getting ready for the playoffs, you now have to have all your starters in there, even though you've got your division wrapped, and you got to play week 18 hair-on-fire football because you have to worry about a third-place team with a better record than you in another comp. Like, that sucks. I don't like that.
Couple last Niner notes before we get to the Supers. The Niners signed Greg Joseph, the veteran kicker. You know what? I don't know. I don't care who it is. I'm for almost anybody but Jake Moody at this point. I've seen enough of Jake Moody.
You're not buying their new special teams guy likes him. They still think that ankle had an awful lot to do. He was really good before ankle injury, not good after ankle injury.
Yeah, no, I know. And I'm not saying I definitively know this or that. I'm just my feeling is just that I would, obviously it's going to be a competition. We'll see how it goes. But to me, it's like boxing in the 70s. You didn't beat Ali unless you beat Ali. You didn't get a split decision over the champ in the 70s in boxing. Okay. There was if you were going to beat the champ, if you were going to be the champ, you had to beat the champ. Okay. And I think that's kind of the mindset, I think, in the past with these competitions. That's like, Jake, you're going to have to beat Jake. I would go the other way. I would make it where Jake has to beat. Joseph has a career. Joseph's had success. If these guys kick it off in the preseason and it's even, Joseph gets the job, not Moody, because Moody has not proven anything. He doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. Joseph deserves the benefit of the doubt. Joseph's the guy who's had the NFL career. So that's how I feel.
I agree with you, Larry, but I think they'll see it the other way. I think Ty.
Oh, I know. Oh, they totally will. Yeah, no, you're right. They're still talking about Jake Moody being their kicker for the next 20 years. So, I mean, they can't get over the fact that they swung and missed in the draft. And that's kind of that inability for them to understand and when to cut bait on their mistakes is one of their real weaknesses.
But Trey Lance, right? I mean, they did get out from under that quickly, and that's so much more insignificant than a kicker. But I hear you. I mean,
I'll give you a couple. You said Trey Lance. Let me give you some examples the other way. 2 years ago, they signed Isaiah Oliver. They cut Deshaun Jameson despite the fact that he outplayed Isaiah Oliver. This year, they decided they brought in Isaac Yiadom and Rock Ya-Sin. And despite the fact that Sam Womack outplayed those guys in the preseason, it was like, no, we're cutting Sam Womack, who went to Indianapolis and played good, because we invested Jed's money in Rock Ya-Sin. But you invested Jed's draft picks in Sam Womack. How about this? Just go for the best guy. Instead, it's like, no, let's protect Jed's money. We don't want to tell Jed that we spent $3 million of his money erroneously on Isaac Yiadom, so we're going to pretend that he's better than Sam Womack, and then we're going to compile our mistakes and compound our mistakes by making more mistakes. So
maybe that's why Jed pulled back so much spending. He's like, you guys are spending money on the wrong fucking dudes, and we'd be better off just playing us.
Right?
No, I'm not gonna give you the benefit.
It could be the case. Couple other thoughts. For the people talking about the schedule, The Niners do have the easiest schedule in the NFL, but the last 3 teams who had that designation of the easiest schedule in the NFL, all 3 of them finished with sub 500 records.
I would say an awful lot of teams who put themselves in position, though, to have the easiest schedule in the NFL weren't as good as the 49ers were, even though the record didn't reflect it. And you are what your record says you are. But I thought that the 49ers were a touch better than their actual record reflected. And I hear
you. But I mean, they're another team trying to make it happen.
Here's the deal. There is no such thing as easy in the NFL. It's just some of these on the surface are harder than others, but there is no easy. The Carolina Panthers are coming to your season to kick your ass. They probably won't, but
yeah,
but they're here's the thing though. Look at all the money that they just spent across their offensive line. I don't think there's an easier, quicker way to make everybody, your quarterback, your running backs, and your coaches look smarter than when you have a great offensive line. So maybe the Carolina Panthers do kick the 49ers' ass because they're a little young up front and won't know how yet. I don't know. That's the thing. There is nothing guaranteed with any team that is in front of you. Any team in this league can beat any other team in this league on any other day in this league, and that is why we are obsessed by it. That's why it's so competitive. That's why we love it.
Last thought before the Supers. As far as what do the Niners need between now and camp to round out their roster, they typically do make a couple moves late in the process. Why? Because they're not subjected to the draft pick compensation formula or free agent compensation formula. That's part of the reason. Part of it's just because, you think you're going to solve a need in the draft and it just happens or doesn't happen, and then you may still have that need in June or whatever. Kind of an interesting article I read this weekend about the New York Jets and Malachi Corley, their receiver that they drafted last year. So last year, the Jets regime of Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas fell in love with Malachi Corley, a receiver from Western Kentucky, drafted him 65th overall in the draft.
We talked about him so much leading up to that draft.
And it's interesting because they traded up to get this guy. And he is a Deebo Samuel type guy. He's a yards after the catch kind of a receiver. And he didn't do much. They get a lot of comparisons to Deebo. He only had 6 targets his rookie year, only caught 3 balls for 16 yards. He was headed for a touchdown and down the ball at the 1. Did you see that one last year, Damon? So he tried to down it at the 1. Anyway, the word out of the Jets minicamp is that now the Jets' 4th round pick this year, Arian Smith, the burner from Georgia, has been incredibly impressive. And now they're saying that Corley may be the odd man out. The new regime is Aaron Glenn and Darren Muge, the former Denver assistant GMs, now the new Jets GM. And the Jets' depth chart at wide receiver, they have Garrett Wilson, they have Alan Lazard, they signed Josh Reynolds, they like Tyler Smith, and now they drafted this kid Arian Smith, who has 4.2 speed. They also have Xavier Gibson, Jamal Pritchett, and Malachi Corley. But they're saying there's a very good chance that Corley is either going to get cut or traded. And Robert Saleh, literally not that long ago, traded up in the draft to get this guy. The Niners have Pearsall, Jennings. They don't know about Ayuk. Demarcus Robinson is going to miss the first 3 games. After that, it's rookie Jordan Watkins, question mark Jacob Cowing, rookie Isaiah Nair, rookie Junior Bergen, question mark Isaiah Hodgins, major question mark Terrell Owens' son, Tariq Owens. What do you think?
There are very few years where you can't, where it's silly to hold like a bad year with the New York Jets against that player as if that season now defines them. The Jets are the biggest clown show in this league, basically. So someone who's had success or failure there, you look at it this way: if you had success in New York, God bless you. You must be a wonderful football player. Failing in New York, most everybody who puts on a Jets uniform does just that. So I'm not going to hold it against them. Yes. If the Jets here's the thing. You asked, what are the 2 things? Wide receiver, offensive line help. The minute the 49ers think they have identified another team's roster cut as unrealized potential in offensive line or wide receiver depth, they need to sign that player. Offensive line depth, wide receiver depth are two things this team should be looking to improve at all times throughout the year.
Let's hit some supers. Let's hit some supers here. We got 11 of them. Heather Taylor in the house. She says, hey, guys, has the contract been signed yet? It feels odd we haven't seen official video of the signing. I'm sure it has.
But yes, but don't they have like a quill that they love for the official the actual signing? I don't know. Yeah, hopefully it's you'll see it soon. How about this? I don't think you need to worry about the actual John Hancock. This bad boy is, if not literally, it's certainly theoretically, conceptually in the barn and done.
Maybe electronically signed in via email. Maybe that was the deal. MSQ says, remember in 2024 when Krug said draft Penix at 31, LOL. Yeah, nobody's laughing now. Michael Penix looks pretty damn good, doesn't he? Or are you trying to say is he trying to make fun of me for saying that they should have drafted him at 31?
I think he's just having a remember.
I'll say this: Michael Penix is, in my opinion, and the Niners play the Falcons in Week 7. That to me is a dicey game because of Michael Penix. I think Michael Penix is on the verge of challenging Jaden Daniels for who's the best quarterback in that draft class.
I hope that Michael Penix stays healthy enough to make that case.
What an arm.
Penix, what he did when he was in Indiana, breathed life into Indiana. He was fabulous at Washington. He's a really talented player, but I think his body gives up on him before he really learns how to play in this league. I hope I'm wrong.
He's had a bunch of injuries. But nobody throws the ball better. Heather Taylor says, off topic, tell us what's up with DJ Humphries debacle. Why did his camp say he was signing with the 49ers, and now we're learning he isn't? Okay, so this is interesting. I think it's one of two things. So you're right. DJ Humphries supposedly signed with the Niners. His agency put out a little social media post saying as much. And now we're hearing that the deal didn't get done and that either maybe it won't get done or at least it hasn't gotten done yet.
The last thing we saw from Mayoko is it turned into they're about to sign him to nothing imminent. So,
right. So I would say one of two things happened here. Either Parag in the negotiation, maybe DJ Humphries' agent didn't look at all the fine print, and maybe it's more favorable for the 49ers than Humphries' camp wants, and maybe they discovered that, a few days later and now are balking. That could be one thing. That was Dieter's idea the other day, that he thinks that maybe Parag is such a good negotiator that there's some poison, things in there that Humphries' camp is objecting to now in the 11th hour upon reading it. I think it also could have something to do with the fact that the Niners then went and signed Andre Dillard and Nicholas Petit-Frere, two other, swing tackle candidates. And now it appears that they're going to have like a swing tackle, real battle royale. Maybe DJ Humphries people thought that he was signing with the Niners with like a slam dunk. You're going to be the third tackle. And now he realizes, hey, I'm going to have to beat out Dillard and Petit-Frere. So that could be that as well.
Tackle. Yeah, maybe it was the player who cooled off on the situation. Maybe it was the player's agent who cooled off. But clearly the two of them got together, looked at each other, said, you kind of want to? And for a minute there, they were like, yeah. But then it turned into, maybe not. So, I don't know. I don't think, how about this? I don't think DJ Humphries is the difference between Super Bowl and bust.
Yeah. And he's not being coveted right now. He's coming off an injury. He's not been highly rated. He was a first round bust in his own right. So, it's not like it's probably he'll either come back at their price or he'll find some other spot. Heather Taylor says the Purdy hate is exhausting. I would agree with that.
It is, and I'm glad that it's over with. I'm glad that we can get this back to full.
Yeah. I don't know if it's over. Do you think it's over?
No,
come on.
Now he is going to be given even less grace because now he's being paid to be Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Every single one of these idiots pivot before they've even made it.
Fucci Simeon 13. Brock will get Ike's gift cards for his teammates this year. Instead of Toyotas.
You'd be happy to have those sandwiches coming into you in great waves. And Toyota ain't going to cut it anymore. Brock's going to have to give Land Rovers this year.
Seriously, I mean, what will he give this year? I don't know. How do you top cars? What do you do there? Here's a jet. Ricky Williams, give Purdy a top 5 defense. He'll look good again.
How about this? All quarterbacks of the top 5 defense look good.
How about this? Forget a top 5 defense. How about just an offensive line that allows you to, from time to time, run the ball inside the fucking 5-yard line? How about that? Why don't we start there? An offensive line that lets you, I don't know, occasionally run the goddamn ball.
This is why you need DJ Humphries, goddammit. No.
Fuji Simeon says, above 500 record for the bottom of the pint show. That's right. We did get a win Friday night. Friday was actually kind of fun. You had the
3 home run game.
Yeah, it was the 3 home run game. And CJ West, we played that video of CJ West celebrating it. It was pretty cool. We got this one. JC Mania. I have a theory. When a team uses their first and second round picks on one group position, they hit on both. For example, Fisk and Verse, Mitchell and DeJean. He says Mikael Williams and Alfred Collins next. Thoughts? Well, we hope. I'm a little concerned about Collins' injuries.
Yeah, I think the Collins CJ West tandem is going to be what's really exciting.
CJ West not going to wear 50 after all. He's going to wear 99.
Good. You know what? That's a linebacker's number anyways. Wait, no, he's going to wear 99? I thought that they gave 99 to Mikael Williams.
No, 90. No, Mikael Williams is wearing 98. Alfred Collins was wearing 99.
Oh, okay.
And now Alfred Collins is going to wear 95, and CJ West is going to wear 99. And Mikael Williams can stay at 98. Ricky Williams is
defensive lineman numbers. I like it more than 50, and I didn't like that he wore a single digit in college.
Yeah, I mean the single digit looks bad. Let's be honest. The worst contract is Brandon Ayuk. Give his money to the defensive free agent O-lineman next year. That'll speed up the retool era for sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens with him for sure. It doesn't sound like they wanted to sign him. MSQ, how would you personally assemble the O-line with roster players? That's a great question. I personally would go Trent Williams at left guard, Dom Pooney at left guard, or Trent Williams at left tackle, Pooney at left guard.
To tackle, Larry.
yeah. Trent Williams at left tackle, Dom Pooney moving from right guard to left guard. And I would probably, have a battle royale between Jake and everybody else at center to see who would start at center. And then I think Connor Colby gets the start at right guard. And then I think it's Colton McKivitz at right tackle. So I think it's basically,
Can Ben Barch hold off Connor Colby? There's your offensive line battle.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Ben Barch has been too hurt to hold off a guy who's made 50 career starts and
is Spencer Burford on the team when the year begins? I think he has to be from a depth standpoint, but man, that guy is getting,
he could start.
It's one thing to be replaced by Pooney. It's another thing to be replaced by a 7th rounder or Ben Barch.
Yeah, he could start. He could wind up being the starter. MSQ, thoughts on people saying Brock can't play in bad weather? Well, we'll have to see. I mean, he struggled with a wet football. And until you want to have not people not talk about it, don't struggle with a wet football.
Right.
I mean, people saying that because people watched it and saw it. That's why people are saying that. Thomas Selman, Purdy is the 7th best quarterback and got the 7th biggest contract. I love how the media claims he's top 10, but can't name 10 quarterbacks who are better. Yeah, I mean, to me, if you said to me, Brock Purdy, what is he? I would say he's a top 10 quarterback. And if you wanted to argue that he's 12th, fine. Right. I could argue that he's 8th, but I'd say he's a top 10 guy.
There's basically, so we got thirds, right? You got your top third tier, your middle third tier, your lower third tier. He is at the bottom of the top third or at the very top of the second third. Like he's right there. I agree with you. He's anywhere depending on what he did that week. The 8th to 12th best quarterback in all of football. But
just to be round numbers, I would say he's basically a top 10 guy.
By the way,
a top 10 guy.
The guys who are in positions 7 through 1 all have bad days too. All of them.
Well, and of the guys making $50+ million, only 3 of them have ever gone to a Super Bowl. Right?
And Mahomes,
Burrow,
and
Hurts, and Goff. Those are the only 3, and Purdy, obviously. Outside of Purdy, those are the only guys.
Purdy's when Purdy was in the Super Bowl, his salary was so low it didn't even get factored into the salary cap.
Right. Fuji Simeon said thoughts on the Giants sweeping the A's this weekend. I was really surprised the A's didn't swing the bats better. Wilmer Flores had a great series. The Giants did the right thing and put Jordan Hicks in the bullpen and put Hayden Birdsong in the rotation. Mm-hmm. The Giants need another offensive player. The Giants are not good enough offensively.
They need to say goodbye, Lamont Wade Jr. I know that he got in.
What's going on there?
He represented a big run yesterday. But look, it was a good sweep for the Giants, right? You did it in all 3 different ways. You got your romp on Friday with Wilmer going bonkers. On Saturday, you get your shutout win, and then on Sunday, you get your run 3-2 game win, and it was a good weekend for the Giants, and they needed it. And now here come the Royals, and keep it up.
Yeah, and the Giants need another bat. If the Giants could get one more bat, I think the Giants are really a contender all year.
We got to talk about Farhan and what good did you do around here, Farhan? Lee can play. He's one of my favorite Giants to watch. Jung-Hoo Lee is a player, and I'm telling you right now, Robbie Ray. That was Farhan too. And Robbie Ray.
Good trade.
Robbie Ray is like throwing some Cy Young shit right now.
Oh, he looks great. Harry Matthews, the 49ers need to get more Georgia players from Kirby Smart era. Stockton's Lap 209 says you didn't mention your daddy Stafford has a ring. Okay, there you go. Stockton Slap 209. Rams are winning it all. Keep your VHS tapes, Larry.
How about this? Stafford. Stafford did win his ring when he got put in that Rams situation, and good for him. It was the best situation he had been in his career. Jared Goff won more playoff games in Detroit than Matthew Stafford has.
Stafford's pretty good, but I forgot Stafford.
Right, but
we'll see. A lot of Stafford. The Rams are the chic pick this year. Yeah, Jared Goff. I mean, the one thing about Jared Goff is Jared Goff played terrible last year in the playoffs and kind of looked like Jared Goff. MSQ says the Niners' offense is driving a stick shift. It's like driving a stick shift car, smoothly driving forward in long distances, but stall when the distances get shorter. Your thoughts? It's interesting. I think it's not. I think it's really more about the fact that they have an offensive line that cannot move people at all. So you're right. They need more room because if all the bodies get in tight, you're going to have to, move somebody off the line of scrimmage, and they don't have guys who can move anybody off the line of scrimmage.
By the way, hold on. So just Trip Aces guy is like, oh my God, Bruce, what? Goff? Stafford is first ballot. He was sent to Detroit in 12 years. Right. In his 12 years in Detroit, 0 playoff wins. Jared Goff has playoff wins with the Detroit Lions. So you could say that Stafford was great, but he never made the team around him great. He got put into a situation where he could be great. And the rest of the team around him was pretty damn good. But don't tell me Matthew Stafford is the ultimate elevator of everything, because he didn't elevate the Detroit Lions into even mattering a single year that he was there for a dozen years.
He's pretty damn good, though. He's a pretty damn good quarterback.
Oh, he's great. I'm not here to tell you that Stafford isn't great, but situations matter. And Jared Goff has done better in the Detroit situation than Stafford did.
Stockton slapped 209. As a Rams fan, I'm happy about Purdy in Santa Clara. Oh, there you go. Great. The Purdy. Mike Florio, so proudest moment for Florio. Fuji Simeon, now that Purdy signed a mega deal, he can't wear his hat backwards since it's unbecoming for someone like him getting paid. LOL, Colin Cowherd. Colin Cowherd's a joke. Stockton slapped 209. Purdy stats and resume almost identical to Jimmy G's. Okay, Stockton. Jerry Martinez, 49ers had a 500 record when Purdy took the field for the first time. They were not at all Super Bowl contenders. Purdy made them contenders. I mean, let's just say this. This whole, like, anybody can do it for Shanahan. When Purdy walked off, in that Miami game, when he came in for Garoppolo, all Niner quarterbacks not named Garoppolo under Shanahan were 9-29. So this idea that anybody can do it is like, come on. Anybody except nobody, right? Nobody could do it until Purdy stepped in for Jimmy, and then all of a sudden Purdy did it. But those are stats that cannot be sidestepped. Flaves, as a Brock Jimmy hater, will say it was clear the 49ers wouldn't win a Super Bowl with them. Sure, they can get us a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl with 7 minutes left, but who couldn't? Trey would have won one easily, though. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, 100%. It would have been already in that barn, baby.
Yeah. Anybody can get a 10-point lead. Yeah. All right, that's going to – oh, we got one more. Justin Davidson, hacking at Slop Nightly. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Justin. Good to see you have a good memory. All right, that's going to do it for us. I'm going to be on with Greg Papa and Greg Silver in 11 minutes on KMBR. Then Sam Batesh and I are going to go live at 11:15 today. Grant Cohn and I go live later today. I'm doing somebody else's podcast this afternoon. I got a lot going on. Busy Monday. Damon, what do you got cooking the rest of the day?
So I am going live at 11. We're going to get into the fact that training camp should get off to a smooth start, and that alone is an advantage that the 49ers will have this year that they did not have last year. We'll get into a little bit about what's happening in the NBA, as wide open as we've ever seen it. Hockey is basically feeling that way too. We're going to talk about what the Giants did a little bit, but we're going to start talking a little 49ers here. And then, Larry, I got to ask you, can we move Friday's wake up to Thursday? Because first thing Friday morning, Jillian and I are out of here, going on a little Memorial Day trip up to Tahoe. We got friends who got a place and said, come on up. So we are going to Tahoe Friday morning. I will not be here for wake up on Friday. Should we move it to Thursday, or should we just circle on back to next Monday then? What do you want to do?
I think we could probably go Thursday. I'm not sure exactly what else I've got going, but I don't think I have anything going Thursday at that time. So we'll just go Thursday morning.
Then Thursday it is.
We will see you on Thursday. That's going to do it for us. For Damon, I'm Larry. Thanks to our sponsors, Pig and a Pickle, Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles, Mancini's, and our good friends at Learn Key Upskill Academy, Clawdaddy Arcades. Damon, you want to shout out your sponsors?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what you're doing for lunch today. Do it at Ike's. If you're around one of his near 125 locations now, get yourself to Ike's. Check out Ike's Catering. Your entire office will be thrilled that you did. And when your day at the office is over in San Francisco, hop on Muni, go to West Portal, and get yourself to the Dubliner West Portal. You'll be happy that you did that too. They'll be happy to see you. Thanks so much for watching. We were very happy to see you. Like and subscribe on your way out. And that's it, Larry. That's all I got today. Have a good one.
I'll say this. I like Brock Purdy. I'd like him a little bit more if he would just blow out the ACL.